First of all, my name's Jesse Uebelhor. I'm Division Agronomist here with Superior Ag Resources. My topic here today that I'm going to talk to you guys about is a foundation to a successful start in corn. So the main objectives here that we're going to be talking about today in corn is the importance of that successful start. So what do we need to do to get the corn off to a good start? Row starter systems approach. So what row starters are we using, the products, and how can we make sure that that plant gets off to the start we want it to have the most yield potential out there. Infernal Fungicide applications, so some products that we're doing, some testing. There's testing in here that we're doing, and then we're also doing some in-field trials as well. So we'll have some pictures and photos, and then we're also going to have yield data coming out of with the harvest with the combines this year on some new fungicides and some products that we're looking at trying to alleviate some problems we're seeing in the cornfields today. So first of all here, we're going to talk about the importance of that successful start out here. So why do we want to do this? So one is for deeper root growth. We want that large root system on that corn plant early. We want to get started. Speeds up emergence and early growth. You know, we want that bigger root system on that plant so that you have a robust plant out there, deep roots to actually pull in the nutrients that we need. Wider leaves to capture more light, more sunlight for photosynthesis out there. And then in the end, it's all about what for you guys? It's about profit, right? So profit potential grows higher. If we can actually get these plants off to a good start, we have the better profit potential. So next thing, we're going to talk about the systems approach on the row starter. And this is actually in-furrow application. So it was actually be laid either below the seed or over the top of the seed is what we're looking at here. This is kind of what we've been working with for years, but we've been kind of tweaking different things on it. But the zinc 9%, this is a chelated EDTA zinc at 1.5 pints is the rate we're using there on the zinc. So what does it actually do? It actually helps start germination. So zinc is very key in that early stages of that seedling plant, is why we're using zinc. So the Ascend is a PGR, so plant growth regulator. So what do? It enhances that root growth on the roots, and that's primarily what we're looking at in them. Also, you can get some wider leaf masses on those plants early. So 10-34-0, 3 gallon. You know, some guys say, well, I use 4, I use 5, I use 3. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to negate which is the actual one. Probably it's more based on your fertility and the type of soil you have. But I think you need to have a minimum of 3 gallon of some sort of a fertilizer with nitrogen and phosphorus out there in it. And it provides the nutrition that you need in that early cool season emergence time with the corn. Then looking at the Capture LFR. So Capture, whether you're using Capture or Ethos or some different products like that with an insecticide, it's going to help protect the seed. So it's about the protection of the seed. So how many guys have seed protection when they buy their bag of corn? They all get treated seed, right? It has insecticide on it. But if you have a wireworm, it physically has to feed on that seed, take a bite before it will actually kill the insect, the wireworm. Versus with the Capture in furrow, you're going to actually increase your plant stand by about 600 plants, because as soon as the insect gets in the trench, in the furrow, it's going to it'll kill the insect then. So it'll never actually feed on the plant in those cases. That's why you're getting about 600 more plants per acre out there. So here we get into the Infernal Fungicide, and this is some trials. This is probably my biggest passion and things I'm probably most concerned about out here in the cornfield. So how many guys see a corn plant? It looks pretty normal here, right? You look at it above ground, it looks like it's a good corn plant, right? But as soon as you get down in here, you start looking at the mesocotyl here, and you see this brown tissue, that's bad. So this corn plant will still make it, but now it's 1 to 2 leaves behind your other corn plants that don't have seedling blight. So what are we using the Infernal Fungicide for? To aid in the control of the seed-borne diseases caused by Rhizoctonia and Fusarium, better known as seedling blight for most of you guys, okay? So we see a lot of that in the fields. Probably the biggest concern I'm seeing out there, years like this, there's an unbelievable amount in the field, and we need to figure out how we do a better job and to get more fungicide to protect that seed. So this is actually a trial with the fungicide. This has the full seed treatment that we had there before, the in-furrow seed treatment with the Capture, the zinc, the Ascend, and the 10-34-0. On the left here, you don't see huge difference between the left and the right here. You maybe see a little greener, you see healthier plants there, maybe a little thicker stand population out there. But when you start digging up the plants, this is the treated with the fungicide. You see how the color, you got the nice purple healthy sheath around the corn plant, and then you look at the untreated, and you look in this crown area, you're getting the brown sheath there, which also turns into typically crown rot later. So not only did we not necessarily see much on the seedling blight here, but you can also get more crown rot and things like that. So that's what we're trying to protect from out there by looking at some of these fungicides out there, and we've got lots of different ones back here in the trial. When you get into the last part here, the in-field trials, this is basically just showing you the full package, and when you look at 1+1 and everything you're doing, I mean, I think everybody can see the difference in the corn plant here and the size of it, the emergence there, and the early growth. You're about a half a stage ahead already at V4 in the plant by using a row starter versus a not. Look at the mass of the stalk diameter, look at the roots. These are all side by side in the field with the Capture LFR plus the Infernal Fungicide. So, you know, with that, you know, the main objectives here that we were looking at is really to, you know, get that successful start. Why it's so important out there in the cornfield. You know, the row starter, the systems approach, it's not just about one product, it's about that whole group of products that we're using out there to get the yields you want to do. The Infernal Fungicide, you know, we're trying, guys. There's a lot of complications with Infernal Fungicides. Some of them don't mix with fertilizer. Some of them don't mix with water. Some of them don't maybe mix very well with the zinc. So we have to do a lot of jar testing. We got to do a lot of tests out in the field, and sometimes, and I don't see them all in this group here, but sometimes it don't even work when you hit the field after you did a jar test and you thought it was going to work. So, so thank those guys that are helping us do these trials. And then the in-field trials. We do have some this year, in-field trials, where we can actually, we're going to take the harvest and see some data out of these. So definitely look a lot healthier. When you walk the fields, they look very positive so far. So we'll see what the results with the combine shows. So with that, any questions? Am I still good on time? Yep, you got like 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. Last group had 3 questions. I bet you guys can't beat them. It's a steak dinner on it. Either you ask a question or you don't get to eat.
Is this the first time you've ever been done first?
Second time, because I was first the last time too. So anyways.
You do any trials on foliar applied?
Yeah, so we do trials on foliar applied at the V5. You know, V5 to V8 stage there. Definitely seeing some positive responses over there the last several years in the fungicide at foliar, as far as the fungicide foliars, and then also the micronutrients. So we do a lot of different things there with that. But we're seeing when it comes to the disease in the corn this year, and I know there's some things that there maybe you guys looked at in the last group, but definitely this amount of physoderma and the gray leaf, the protection we're seeing early. When you start talking about return on investment, the dollars you spend on the fungicide at a V5 and the cost there at that, you know, size appropriate rate, let's call it, very economical there to get your return is probably bigger than any fungicide application. So, yes?
Do you have it corn on corn or corn after beans, both
To the fungicide at V5. For the most part, guys, I would say with the diseases and the amount of moisture we typically see in this area, and we're in that, you know, Ohio River Valley here, let's just call it, the amount of disease. Corn on corn, I would call that one very, very, very responsive. You know, you got to know your hybrids too, which you'll talk about up there a little more. But also following soybeans, most hybrids here, you know, gray leaf spot, it's not going to control southern rust. I'll take that right out. I mean, V5 is not going to control that. But the physoderma definitely looks really good from the V5, even on the corn on corn or corn on following soybeans, both. So it looks really good.
We've probably all had physoderma every year these guys have farmed, but this year I know it's a lot worse. So how much damage is that going to do to the corn that did get sprayed?
Well, so from a standpoint of physoderma, we've always, yes, very correctly, we've always had some physoderma out in the cornfields. The last 2 years, the amount of disease that we're seeing from physoderma is incredible. As far as the, you know, yield, I think it's going to come down to some, the yield, but stalk breakage. I've been out in a lot of these cornfields, and you can actually do it in this test plot here. When you go through and start pushing stalks, we're getting node breakage already on corn plants that are completely green, and we're a long way from harvest. I seen node breakage already back as soon as it was tasseling in places. That Physoderma was so bad. It got in that sheath in that node and just totally destroyed it. So definitely concerned, timely harvest be important. One more question.
Like a miller or one of the bigger rigs, they'll put on 15-gallon acre on fungicide. Now the planes dropped from 5 to 2, I understand, right? Have you done any tests between 2-gallon acre versus the 15 on fungicide? I wonder about that, only 2-gallon acre.
Yeah, so, I mean, we definitely see the response yet from the 2-gallon out there. I mean, we're seeing 15, 20, 25, depending on the hybrid, depending on the year, response out there. I'm not going to tell you that the Haggie's not a good way to go. I'm going to say it probably you're going to get the coverage. The issue is really the economics and how timely can we get over the acres and how many acres you can get over. So I know that probably doesn't answer the question completely, but we have not done specifically ourselves because it's hard to get the airplane versus the, because you do get a little drift and both ways. But I know there is some growers doing some themselves as well. So, last question. We've looked at that on some cases. We have a Haggie or so left in the system, but from an economic standpoint, I think the farmers are going to drive where we got to go, but it's also going to be cost prohibitive based on the acres that we got to try to cover, and in our environment it's just not very. We've done almost 50,000 acres out of the Huntingburg Airport, and I'm not sure how we could cover 50,000 acres with ground rigs today yet. So, yeah. Last question. I got to move them.
When it comes to southern rust, when would be the best time to actually start spraying on it?
Well, that's going to be a loaded question, but depending on the time when it actually hits you here, the southern rust, when it actually comes in, and the stage of the corn plant. So the later you're planted corn, usually the more response you're going to get to the fungicide application because of the disease on the corn. So, and the time at the stage the corn's in. So, good questions. I got to move you guys. Sorry, I will be around. Thank you. Now it's time to make a decision again. Option A will be going.